Okay, let's dive into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking an event that literally shook the foundations of music and pop culture. We're talking about the 1996 murder of hip-hop icon Tupac Shakur. Now, for almost 30 years, this case has been buried under rumors, street whispers, and just an agonizing lack of answers. But as you probably heard, there have been some massive, completely unexpected breakthroughs recently that have thrown this cold case right back into the modern spotlight. We're going to break down exactly what went down that night, why it stayed unsolved for so long, and how the wheels of justice are finally starting to turn.
To really wrap our heads around the surreal nature of this crime, our source material kicks off with a pretty chilling contrast. Think about your classic notorious killers, like the Zodiac operating up in Northern California, leaving behind this theatrical legacy of coded symbols and ciphers that took decades to crack, right? That type of criminal actively chooses absolute anonymity. They stalk their victims in secluded lovers' lanes. But the tragedy on the Las Vegas Strip? It was the exact opposite. We're talking about a loud, public execution happening right under the glaring neon lights of one of the busiest streets on the planet. There were no shadows here. It was right out in the open.
Part 1. A loud public execution. September 7th, 1996.
Part 2. Anatomy of the strike. A visceral timeline.
So, how exactly does an international superstar get ambushed in front of hundreds of potential witnesses? Well, things moved incredibly fast that night. Now, what's really interesting about this sequence of events is the sudden domino effect of the evening. It all starts with the catalyst. Earlier that night, Tupac and Death Row Records CEO Marion Suge Knight were at the MGM Grand for the Bruce Seldon vs. Mike Tyson boxing match. High stakes, sky-high adrenaline. Right there in the casino lobby, a violent altercation breaks out between Tupac's crew and Orlando Baby Lane Anderson, a known member of the Southside Compton Crips. Fast forward just a bit later that night. Tupac is riding shotgun in a black BMW 750IL. Suge Knight is behind the wheel, and they're leading this massive convoy of vehicles cruising right down the strip. Then, at exactly 11:15 p.m., they're stopped at a red light at the intersection of Flamingo Road and Koval Lane. A white, four-door Cadillac pulls up alongside their BMW, and the ambush begins.
From the backseat of that white Cadillac, someone opens fire into the BMW. Tupac Shakur was struck exactly 4 times. Just like that, in a literal blink of an eye, a celebratory night in Vegas was completely shattered by gunfire. The reality of those 4 shots is, well, it's incredibly heavy. Despite a massive medical intervention, Tupac succumbed to his internal injuries 6 days later. On September 13, 1996, at just 25 years old, a music legend was gone.
Part 3. Decades of silence. An agonizing mystery.
What followed his death was this agonizing vacuum of justice. For nearly 30 years, this case just sat there as a chilling, stone-cold mystery. All the glaring neon lights of Vegas couldn't illuminate who actually pulled the trigger, and a very dark, very heavy silence fell over the entire investigation. But why the silence? Well, as our source points out, unlike that anonymous Northern California killer who actively taunted the police with letters and a running score, the key players involved in the Shakur slang kept their mouths firmly shut. And that was due to 3 massive barriers to justice: the rigid street code against cooperating with authorities, a very real, pervasive fear of fatal retaliation, and, frankly, initial missteps by investigators at the time. These 3 factors combined to create a massive void of unanswered questions, a void that, as we know, quickly filled up with endless conspiracy theories, documentaries, and books.
Part 4. The Modern-Day Reckoning. A Breakthrough.
But nothing stays quiet forever. Decades pass, people change, and suddenly the landscape shifts. After almost 30 years, a massive breakthrough in 2023 finally shattered that impenetrable wall of silence. So the crucial point is this. The wall of silence didn't crack because of a high school teacher solving a puzzle. It cracked because of old-fashioned boasting. It wasn't some brilliant cipher decoded by an amateur sleuth. No, it was human ego. It was the desire for entertainment, the pursuit of profit, and the sheer inability of those involved to just keep quiet as the years rolled on.
And that boasting? It directly led to a truly monumental moment. In September of 2023, Las Vegas authorities officially arrested former gang leader Dwayne "Kefty" Davis. After decades of rumors and whispers, an actual arrest was made. This pulled this legendary cold case squarely back into the modern spotlight and right into the criminal justice system.
Part 5. The Road to Justice. Contrasting Stories.
Because, let's be real, an arrest is just the beginning. What we're looking at right now is a highly complex legal battle. with two wildly contrasting narratives heading straight for a courtroom showdown. And this brilliantly illustrates the battle lines being drawn by both sides. First, we've got the prosecution's claims. They're alleging that Davis was the ringleader, that he orchestrated the hit, procured the weapon, and sat in the front passenger seat of that white Cadillac, while his nephew, Orlando Anderson, who passed away in a separate incident back in 1998, allegedly fired the fatal shots. On the flip side, Davis has pleaded not guilty. The defense team's strategy is basically to argue that Davis's prior public confessions, his interviews, and his memoirs were heavily exaggerated. They claim he amplified his involvement purely for entertainment value and to make a profit. It's wild stuff.
And the legal pressure on Davis extends way beyond just the primary murder charge. The civil fallout is seriously mounting. For instance, Tupac's stepbrother recently filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Davis, alleging a much broader conspiracy surrounding the murder. This civil pressure sits right alongside Davis's other legal troubles, which actually include a recent conviction related to an unrelated jailhouse altercation he had while awaiting his day in court.
Let's move forward and see how this builds toward a definitive timeline for justice. After several continuances to ensure a fair trial process, a Nevada judge has officially put it on the calendar. The first-degree murder trial is scheduled to begin on August 10, 2026. This means we are hurtling toward a massive legal event that's going to attempt to officially close the book on a 30-year mystery.
Which leaves us with so much to think about as we watch this historic case unfold. Based on everything we've broken down today, I want to pose this directly to you. Are you more interested in exploring the deeply rooted gang dynamics and the motives behind that fateful night? Or would you like to dive deeper into how the high-stakes legal strategies are shaping up for the upcoming 2026 trial? Let that sink in. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and keep questioning the details.